Hi friends! This is DaintyTank. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to Fatal 12. This is part 34 in our series. Wah! So long. It's okay. I hope you're enjoying this new setup. Let me know your thoughts on it. I did roll right into another recording. And the reason being is that I'm trying to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. And to do that, it's easier to record doubly both times that I sit down. So, welcome to the second part of me playing this all the way through. So, jumping in. The last we left off, Alan had just left. Naomi was getting checked in on. Not long after Alan leaves, having told his entire life story, Naomi comes downstairs. I am glad that we kind of circled back around and got to learn a little bit about that first girl, Chan, who got eliminated. And it sounds like she was much more in like the Roy situation of like, there's not much to you, you're kind of shallow. Gotcha. Naomi, are you feeling better? I am fine, yes. More importantly, I have to apologize to you. She pauses before pulling her eyes away from me. I heard your conversation with Alan. He's so much more kind than I thought. I want to thank you for helping me, but it's too late. Don't worry about that. That's all I can think to say to her. He has to have known that Maharu collected all of Frederico's cards. Now he's made sure that only you and she remain around after the next round. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I'm going to forget everything about him once he's eliminated, aren't I? Not just about him helping me, but his kindness as well. That's why it's my job to make sure I never forget. In that case, please tell me about him after the fact. Make me remember what I shouldn't. Of course. Wouldn't be able to handle it all if I didn't. Naomi grasps my hand tightly in hers. Her memories take a considerable blow since she's helping me despite not being a participant. Though that makes me question why the system that rewrites people's memories is so flawed. If Parsel's the one who made it, then I want to lodge a complaint. It's far too cruel. There's more to life than a beat of one's heart. It's our experiences that make us who we are. It's why changing or making people forget those experiences is just as bad as outright killing them. Do you mind if I stay over tonight? I'm still not feeling too well, honestly. Sure, I don't mind. Just make sure to tell your mom first. She's obviously faking it. Not like it matters to me, though. If anything, I don't want to spend the night alone. Aww. Don't tell Maharu. Just don't tell Maharu. Saturday, 2 days later. Because we're skipping ahead. Yesterday passed without issue. The four of us studied together after school, and then I did my usual diary reading at night. I told Maharu about Alan, too. Looks like I'll be electing him, while she'll be electing Frederico. On a superficial level, things have gone far smoother than they have in weeks past. There weren't any huge incidents, like with you, nor was there any need to make deals with people like Odette. Things aren't so simple deep down, though. The significance of the upcoming elections is all the more greater now that we've gotten to know and see their development. There's no point in being depressed until the time comes, though. Instead, I try to brighten my mood before heading to school. Oh yeah, because you have school on Saturday, for some reason. Don't understand. Upon my arrival, Mao greets me with an eerie grin. Morning! Guess what day today is? July 7th, so, Tanabata. Bingo! They put up some bamboo over in the cafeteria, so let's go hang our wishes. It's a bit embarrassing, but okay. I'm surprised you care, though. Normally, you're not interested in stuff going on at school. Sometimes I feel like it, you know? You're coming too, Mahirin. I'll write one if Rinka does. Thank you, Maharu. Alright. Now to rope Niren in as well. There must have been a Tabanata feature on TV or something. That aside, it's relieving to see Mao act like this. Well, it'd probably be a relief as she was in her post-all-nighter mode as well. Alright. This is gonna be cute. Once we've written and hung our wishes, we start to make our way to the class. The faculty set bamboo up in the cafeteria that's shared between our and the college's campus, just like Mao said. Surprising number of people are participating. Leads to me taking a peek at some wishes. Most are relationship related. So what'd you all write? What happened to keeping it a secret? We can make it a point to keep what we've written to ourselves. For a simple reason too. We're shy. Let me make one thing clear, Naomi. You might not have meant to see what I wrote, but you did nonetheless. I don't need to explain what will happen if you tell anyone, do I? What? Are you? Oh god. I'm sorry, my lips are sealed. Oh? Caught a glimpse? Did you? So, the loyal servant's duty to tell their queen everything you know. Sorry, but I can't, no matter what. You guys are cute! Oh, poor Maharu. Maharu gives Naomi an exaggerated glare before transitioning into a smile, which must be terrifying. Just a death glare and then a... As for me, well, I guess there's no point in reminding myself of something I wrote. Just a few more nights of sleep and it'll finally be summer vacation. I wouldn't say a few when it's over a week away, but sure. You haven't forgotten about our promise to go see fireworks, have you, Rini? Should be around this time next month. I haven't. Let's make sure the four of us go. There's a hint of gravity to her words. It's not often she sounds like that, so it's leaving the rest of us speechless. Naomi ends up breaking the silence. Yeah, I love fireworks, so I'm really excited. Maharu and I nod in agreement. Alright, Niren's in charge of getting up early and grabbing us a spot then. I'll do what I can. You guys are so cute. We'll all go together, for sure. If Rinka says so, then it's the truth. My reluctance to say it in the first place is why I forced myself to make that claim. It's a much more personal wish than what I wrote earlier, but also a more earnest one. Whew. Meanwhile, once the day is over, I get ready for bed. As for a diary, I'm almost done with it in terms of pages. Tomorrow's session should be my last. I couldn't find the second volume after looking around. So tomorrow marks my last look into the daily lives of Linda and Diana. When I think about it, I recall what we talked about earlier on in the afternoon. Fireworks, huh? I talked to Maharu about it before. Back when we were alone at the theme park. And you were the most oblivious lesbian ever? Yeah. Back when I was the only one who didn't know anything about divine selection. Oh no. Flooded memories come back to me all at once. I must be tired. I feel my eyes begin to water up as my emotions involuntarily pour out. I want to go! I want to go with everyone! My thoughts turn to screams. And I remember it's the middle of the night, so I end up smothering my face in a pillow. Ah! Helps me muffle my screams. It's all so sudden. The fear of losing what I have at the moment has just hit me out of nowhere. I don't want anything up till now to be undone. I fall asleep at some point, unable to sort out my emotions. Okay. What? What? Federico returns to Japan from India on Sunday morning. Damn it. Can't believe I only managed to find his cause of death. Once in India, he visited both Alan's company and his family. According to his company, Alan was out on private business that wasn't to be divulged to anyone. As a result, he kept all contact with the company to a minimum. In exchange, the vice president was in charge of all important decisions for the time being. This led Federico's discovery of an anti-Alan faction within said company, not to mention their connection to a certain competing company. Putting two and two together with what Maharu had told him, he was able to deduce the background behind Alan's cause of death and materialize the card. The big issue was with learning his regret, since no one there had any valuable information related to it. His visit to Alan's home proved to be entirely meaningless, too. Never expected to come across someone like her. Oh. Hi, Amrita? Wow. Girl that realized what Federico was up to. Her name was Amrita. Their surnames might be different, but she was apparently Alan's sister. She showed no reservation in telling Federico to leave the moment she saw him. Federico knew that Alan had plenty of enemies. He never would have been poisoned if that weren't the case. What's more, those enemies of his would visit his home in order to uncover any potential weakness. Federico used this knowledge in an attempt to threaten her. It was all to no avail, however. She did nothing but glare at him in response. I see. I can see the eyes now. Rinka's like red eyes. Federico realized right then and there that she was a stranger to the concept of fear. She was undoubtedly aware of her brother's bad side, his merciless attitude towards others, his valuing of skill and competence above all else, and how many had lost their jobs due to both of those traits. Even then, she was wise enough to prevent his potential enemies from learning anything about him. Her situation was full of contradictions, and yet she stood absolute before Federico and his threats. Federico himself likely would have resorted to a number of horrible means to force information out of her back in his mafia days. But this time, he gave in. The lack of both any backing from the organization and confidence that she knew anything about his regret caused him to do so. More importantly, the look in her eyes made it clear she wouldn't budge through normal means. The man who did that girl remind me of? Not Odette, that's for sure. There was something familiar about that look. Federico's inability to remember who it reminded him of bothered him. Well, whatever. She may have been a looker, but she's just a kid. Gotta admit, that I don't see her faring too well in the future with a personality like that. You say that, but you also tried to, bang Maharu, 20 ways to Sunday. Apart from that, the fact remained that Federico was unable to obtain Alan's regret. He gave himself a set time to return to Japan for two reasons. One was to prevent himself from losing his resolve, and the other was to ensure he had enough time for one last-ditch effort. The one thing left for him at this point is to find and question Alan directly. Finding that asshole is the main issue. Train rocks as he tries to discern Alan's location. Okay. Sunday. Guess I fell asleep at some point. Waking up only to remember my outburst last night feels anything but good. On the bright side, it proves just how much of a toll this whole thing has taken on me. I open my window and take a deep breath of fresh air to collect myself. Uh-oh. Man, guess it makes sense for me to go out like this. Frederico chops up his current situation to one befitting a loser like himself. He's unable to get in touch with Alan now that Scale's gone. He's visited a number of places in the hopes of finding him, but to no avail. Wasn't even at the warehouse where he met with Odette and that other girl. In the end, he finds himself at the National Park in Shinjuku, final destination. He doesn't know why this park is such a fancy name, but he doesn't really care. What he does care about is the fact that Alan's not here either. Just means our fates aren't linked. That I even need to say such a thing makes me sick. His pace may seem leisurely, but he spent the day running around on foot. Time simply won't allow him to slow down. He's running so hard that he's gotten covered in sweat despite his level of fitness. He has done all he can to triumph over Alan. It's a level of effort that he'd long forgotten. That's why he feels an odd sense of satisfaction despite having nothing to show for it. Might as well grab some booze and drink until I pass out. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. Get drunk until you don't exist anymore, and you don't have to pay the bill. That sounds great. His decision made, he walks off into the night on his final day. Bye, Federico. 1 hour later, Federico returns to an area close by. Doing so, he notices a certain cafe. Oh no. Guess I wouldn't mind some coffee first. He hasn't had any espresso during his whole trip. Wouldn't quite match the taste of what he's used to back home, but he finds himself wanting some after so long. Light's still on, leading him to believe the shop's still open. Thus he struts over to its entrance. And he's drunk, so he's gonna rip the door open. After day turns to night, I sit down at my usual table with the diary. I've got some coffee with me as well, but I'm being extra careful not to spill it on the book. Don't spend the whole day studying thanks to having to take care of some chores, but hey, it's nice to finally sit down and relax. Don't get to do that often these days. First, I was reading through the diary to find information related to divine selection, but somewhere along the way I find myself simply enjoying it. I can see why Naomi loves to read so much now. Okay. Taking a sip of my coffee, I open the page I have bookmarked. Soon after, I hear someone shouting outside the store. The hell? Why is it closed when the light's still on? Who hate to ruin my impression of the place? The door is closed, but I can hear them loud and clear. What's more, the voice sounds familiar. Close diary and duck behind the counter to better scout out what's going on. Standing outside is none other than Federico Carminati. Why is he here? Didn't he settle things after his discussion with Maharu? I prepare myself for the worst, though something feels off. He isn't addressing me directly, now that I think about it. In fact, it may be safe to assume he's here by coincidence, judging by what he's said. He's just upset that the store's closed. There's no need to overthink things in this situation. What the? You? Seems like he knows me. I bet he's never expected me to be running a cafe, much less the fact that I'm simply trying to read a book. He stands there and stares at me, mouth agape. Decided not to say anything to shatter his silence. Shortly after, he grins from ear to ear before erupting in laughter. The way he's laughing, it's a familiar sound. This is stressful. Federico can't hide his surprise at this turn of events. Inside the cafe he's about to visit stands none other than Rinka. It's the first time they have met one-on-one in the real world. Fate must be up to something for this to happen on his last day. Her presence within the closed cafe can mean she works there, but Federico's more inclined to believe she lives inside. Doesn't matter to him, though. Instead, he finds himself excited about a certain revelation. That's who she reminded me of. Rinka is staring Federico down, clearly wary of him. The look in her eyes brings someone else to mind. Amrita, Alan's sister. They both stare at the same resolute gaze. He'd always wondered why Alan seemed so concerned with Rinka, but he figured out it had nothing to do with his regret. But he was wrong. This chance discovery seals the deal for him. Alan's regret card is related to her. Ha ha! His excitement turns to a sense of joy he has never experienced before. He has won! At the very last minute, he finally possesses all of Alan's cards. He has succeeded in outdoing someone he wants to beat. Cheers to you, kid. Frederico then takes his leave without bothering to enter the lion house. Rinka stands there alone and puzzled over what has just happened. Yeah, poor Rinka. She must be terrified right now. What was that all about? Frederico randomly decides to wander off while I was giving him a silent stare. I'm not even sure what he wanted. He looked incredibly happy for some reason, though. Not sure it was frightening in more ways than one. Not sure why, but there is something unsettling about the way his expression switched from anger to surprise and then joy. It didn't seem like he was rejoicing over obtaining information, at the very least. Maybe I'll take a break from reading today. Perhaps it's for the best, since he might try to come back. Sucks when I'm almost done with it, but oh well. After returning to my bedroom, I focus on preparing myself for tonight's election. Yep. Oh, here we go. Good evening, my little slaves to fate. That's the 10th time that I've had to listen to her voice. Parsa addresses the court of fate, as she always does. I'm well aware of the cruelty being masked by her divine tone, as well as the reality that I have the same cruelty within me. 4 remain, but who will survive until the end? I'm guessing you prefer a girl, if I'm gonna use us as a host? Goodness, no. I view all genders equally. Thank you, Parsa. That's really refreshing. Says the goddess that went on about how much I reek of booze. Did I? I'm afraid I don't recall such an exchange. You little. That again, I see. I can't say I mind it tonight, though. Holy crap. Seeing you smile might just be the creepiest thing I've ever experienced. Alan and Frederico have no issue engaging Parsa in senseless conversation. That's been the case since the beginning, in fact, especially with Frederico. That's right. Tonight's last night I'll get to see this. Don't feel sad about it. Just empty. I can't say for sure how Maharu feels. But at the very least, she's chosen to remain silent, like me. We're finally nearing the end of Divine Selection. I do look forward to seeing what fate has in store for you all. Allow me to begin tonight's election. Revolve, O clock of fate. Her sly grin signals the beginning of tonight's election procedure. My place as numero 1 is one that I detest. I'm always the one forced to make the first declaration as a result. Well, numeral 1. I elect numeral 12. Make sure to look Alan in the eyes as I say so. I'm using his life as a stepping stone for my own. It's the truth that no rationalization can change, thus I have to accept it. He smiles upon hearing my declaration and nods. Next is numeral 2. I elect numeral 3. Things are proceeding as expected. Federico nods in response, his expression an odd mix of satisfaction and displeasure. I understand now just how incredible it is for him to remain that composed. And yourself, numeral 3? Who? Me? I'm sure I've got an election, and it's got your name all over it, Alan. Good grief, could you please refer to him by his numeral? Hey now, everybody knows each other's names at this point, so it should be fine. But, okay, I'll obey your rules. Numeral 12, I'm electing you. Very well. Parson nods, and then turns to face Alan. He raises his voice before she can prompt him, though. Allow me to elect Federico Carminati. Heavens, must you be like this too? Please wait until I ask before you make your declaration. That was my way of accepting his provocation. I elect numeral 3. Very well. Do allow me to stress the importance of adhering to the rules, however. Oh my god. Frederico and I have elected Alan. Meanwhile, Maharu and Alan have elected Frederico. All 4 of us face duplicate elections. This isn't a situation I had anticipated. I get that Frederico wants to elect Alan, even if it means causing that situation, but I honestly didn't think he had all of his cards. I'm not quite sure why Alan wants to elect Frederico, when Maharu's already doing so either. This entire situation has me slightly bewildered. I can't see this being a tactic to make us back off. Should be clear at this point that I won't hesitate to earn election priority. What are you thinking? Well, quite the clash of wills we have tonight. Allow me to handle this all in order. Sure, go ahead. Yo, Maharu, I ain't too fond of letting that asshole be the one to put the nail in my coffin. Still wish I could have spent a wild night with you, but hey, you'll at least be the one to put an end to this for me, won't you? How many times must I tell you not to speak? I have a role to carry out. Frederico ignores Parsa's distress and tells Maharu that he's leaving it to her. What's more, Alan turns to speak to me. I share the same sentiment as him. I would be ashamed to call myself Amrita's brother if he were the one to eliminate me. I clench my fists as I listen to his words. I finally understand his thought process. It's not a logical decision at all, but it's one that I can understand. Men truly are hopeless. Is that what you were hoping I'd say? I ain't really into that sort of thing, but sure, that works. I didn't expect you to think about things this way. It's in my nature as a brother, which is all I will be at the moment. That's enough. I need you all to follow proper protocol. Parsa actually raises her voice at us. How unusual. There's no anger in her tone, though. If anything, I think she's excited. It's an abnormal situation when myriad emotions are all crossing paths. Numeral 1 and 3's election of numeral 12 shall be our first priority. As you know, revealing a personal card will allow you to obtain election priority. What will you do? Numeral 1. I'll reveal my name card. Oh, that's brilliant. I'll reveal my regret. Close my eyes as Parsa chides Frederico by ignoring protocol again. My actions are essentially throwing mud in his face after he helped me. But that's okay. What I'm about to do is through my own will. I reveal my cause of death, then. I'm fresh out of cards to reveal, so I guess I'll let you have the right to elect him. I won the moment I gathered all 3 of his cards. Hell, thank you for giving me that final push I needed. So that's why. Finally understand his actions from last night. He must have learned about Amrita somehow. Never met her myself, but the similarities must be authentic, if even he is able to make the connection between me and her. Still, it doesn't feel right for him to thank me. Never did anything for him. He's the one who obtained the answer he was looking for on his own. Very well. Up next is numeral 2 and 12's election of numeral 3. We never did have the pleasure of meeting face to face. Indeed, you helped Rinka out though, didn't you? I owe you my thanks for that. Spare me your gratitude. I'm sure you've been told that I'm not too fond of such niceties. I have every intention of earning election priority. What will you do? I have 3 cards remaining, but The last thing I want is for him to haunt Amrita if I eliminate him. You may have the right. As for us, how does continuing our bout at a later time sound, Federico Carminati? That sure ain't gonna sit well with me. How about we all call it just a win on both sides? No. Oh, come on! No talking amongst each other. How many times must I repeat myself? Parsa halts the conversation for us. Next, she begins the process of bringing two lives to their end. Oh, she's terrifying. With that decided, numeral 1 and numeral 12, numeral 2 and numeral 3 allow me to proceed on with the election procedure. The Court of Fate rumbles following her exclamation. I'm up first. My platform makes its way to the upper stratum, as does Alan's. Alan and I face each other upon completing our ascension. He remains silent, albeit with a peaceful expression. I already told you everything there is to say during that night. Yeah. His current silence, compared to the night he's referring to, says it all. The silence is soon disturbed by Parsa. Oh my, done chatting already? I must admit, I expected you to express some anguish over this, numeral 1. Everyone has a surprising side to them, right? Indeed. Oh, granted, I shan't complain about everything proceeding smoothly. Do begin your election, then. Here we go. I open my card book once she shuts her mouth. My cards float out in response, despite the majority of them being useless now. His name is Alan Scorpion. He was killed with poison. If there's one thing I regret, it's not using my position to present to you with a diamond that you, no doubt, would never be able to afford. That's really sweet and in a quite, higher up backhanded way. You're being sarcastic now? To make up for it, allow me to teach you a magic phrase, one based on my belief that Amrita will become the next CEO. A time will come when you require such jewelry. This phrase will allow you to purchase some for a remarkably low price. He chuckles to himself before continuing. You wet the bed until you were 13 years old. Say this to her, and you'll be able to afford any jewelry you desire. Ho ho! That's messed up. I can't help but crack a smile. He cares for his sister far more than I imagined. An overprotective big brother, through and through. To be honest, I'm a bit jealous. No! Sorry, click through. I shouldn't have my hand just resting there. To be honest, I'm a bit jealous. I must admit, being elected under these circumstances isn't too bad. Go on. Finish your job. Yeah, his regret is his sister's future. My cards begin to shine in response, floating to the middle of the Court of Fate. Once there, the light engulfs the entire space. It's then that I hear his last words. Then again, you have no need for jewelry when those eyes of yours shine brighter than any stone. Oh, Alan! You were terrifying! The scenery switches to that of a hotel room. Alan was going through documents. Not just paper documents, but files stored on his laptop and tablet as well. Room service arrived shortly thereafter. It was coffee. Alan didn't normally partake, but his secretary recommended it if he needed a way to keep himself awake. Of course his secretary did. They claimed the coffee here was especially good. He took a sip. Full body paralysis followed mere moments later. Whoa, that's a fast acting. Only then did he notice just how many people had to have worked together through their shared hatred of him. His time was short, however. He lacked the means to judge them for their decision. Only the outcome mattered. and how it was fitting end for someone who had thrown so much away. But in his heart remained one regret. Aww, he hadn't seen his dear sister in half a year. A child could grow like a weed in that little time. If only he could have seen that growth, her baby steps towards adulthood. Oh. So sad. My consciousness returns in what I've guessed was 5 minutes. I wasn't surprised by what I saw. It all made sense based on what Alan had told me. One question lingers in my mind, though. Why did no one see how kind he was? Do you see all of what I see? Memories are beyond my realm of expertise, I'm afraid. What's that supposed to mean? Allow me to show you the cards in numeral 12's possession. Please consider which one you'd like to obtain as you descend. Wait a minute. My attempt to stop her in vain, as she's already disappeared. Following that, my platform begins to descend. Uh-huh. Rinka's platform returns to the lower stratum not long after she leaves. Maharu looks her in the eye and nods. Words aren't needed between them now. Her own platform begins to rise after this. Frederico's follows suit. Here we go. They face one another, once in the upper stratum. It's the first time they've done so since their last encounter in the real world. Frederico's the one to break silence. There's something I want to ask you. What is it? You a lesbian or something? You a lesbian or something? Far as I can tell, you're in love with that squirt. Buddy boy. You're denser than Rinka was on that one. This is not a question Maharu had anticipated. While she may have gotten angry under normal circumstances, being asked in such a blatant manner renders her completely speechless. Guess it doesn't matter when this is the end for me. Do you make it a point to sour people's impression of you whenever you leave? No need to feel embarrassed. Can't claim to understand why some people are gay, but it ain't weird or anything to me. Frederico. Hell, I'd have taught you a technique or two if you said so earlier. No. Don't need that. No. Never take advice on being a lesbian from a straight man. No. Straight men need to take advice from lesbians. Maharu responds to his joke with a nicey stare. There's no animosity behind it, however. Just her silly way of responding to his silly joke. Is that all you wanted to ask? Why, do feel free to talk a bit longer if you so wish. Nah, I'm good. Nothing left to say, is there? You're right. Neither of them are surprised by Parsa's sudden appearance. While somewhat displeased, she continues with the procedure. Do select your cards then, numeral 2. Oh, we haven't seen that picture of her. Maharu opens her card book when prompted. His name is Federico Carminati. Oh yeah, this ain't about me. But there's one last thing I want to say. That beast of a woman never forgot how to enjoy life, even after all she'd been through. She even threw away an easy chance at survival to save me. But then I up and died anyway. My point is, well, just remember that people like us lived our lives the best we could. What's important is that you enjoy the ride, so you don't dare go killing yourself again. Got it? He was crushed to death. Parsa said that she can change fate last time, so make sure to take advantage of that if both you and the kiddo make it through to the end. Let your desires take priority a bit more. Don't worry about your image. Your looks will keep you covered there. His regret is success. She bites her lip as she reads out his final cards. She has no idea what emotion she is feeling right now. I don't know where I'm going after this place, but I'll pray that you two have a great relationship. Thank you, Federico. The Court of Fate is once again engulfed by the light. Uh-huh. 2 down. Scenery of a sinking ship unfolds. The ship's captain leapt toward him. Her body collapsed with his immediately after. The ship's components collapsed at the same time, crushing him underneath them. His resentment toward both his failure and something else accompanied his life. His death, blah blah blah. Bye, Federico. Sorry, but I don't need your prayers. If anything, they'll just make things worse. There's no need to fool yourself, Maharu. Stop it. You were only allowed to call me by name when I was your vessel. Is that so? Wait a minute. Your only method of observing the real world up until divine selection was through me, wasn't it? In that case, what have you been keeping tabs on? How have you been keeping tabs on it up until now? Your friend is waiting below. Maharu's platform begins to move after Parsa ignores her question. Helps her to realize something, though. She's getting ever closer to an answer. Oh! Details! Maharu returns from the upper stratum alone. Her platform settles next to mine once more. Thus, only us and Parsa remain in the Court of Fate. Seemingly endless space somehow feels even bigger now. Well done. Have you decided which card to take? Not like anything's worth it. Maybe I'll take number 6's name card? It belongs to the woman Alan eliminated on the first night. I never met her, but learning her name should allow me to remember her. I'll take the page out of Rinka's book and have numero 7's name then. 7. It was 7. Roy. She must have understood what I was going for. The name belonged to a man Odette eliminated on the second night. I'll ask her about it later. That way, I'll finally know the names of all 12 participants. I'll be able to remember every last one of them. Oh, I see that the cards are useless to you two at this point. Maybe, maybe not. Can you end it already? I want to get some proper rest. Yes, very well. Parsa gives a pathetic response before returning to the center of the Court of Fate. Tonight's session resulted in 2 eliminations. I bid you farewell for now. You might not like her, but I can't deny how pleasant her voice sounds. Divine selection. It won't be long before this cruel ritual is finally over. 10th week! Man. We're gonna end this here with just mourning. That was a lot of elections. It was a lot of just emotions at the end. That got complex. But it's down to the last 2, and we can finally get to some bigger answers here. So hopefully we're wrapping this up here in the next week. Please tune in. Let me know your thoughts. Want to hear them all. Want to know your thoughts on this new setup as well. Is it annoying to have Snowball here? Is it fine? Because to me, it's easier because it's closer to me and I'm not like hunching down like I was before. And so I hope it looks better as well. Anything to try. With that, I love you all, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!